Hey, good evening. Welcome back to Toilets to Titles. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Justin Stevens. I'm back at you for another week of previews. Before I introduce this week's guest, I want to point out that we're missing a couple of guys on our screen here. Obviously, you guys are used to seeing the coach, John Sheps, and my boy Nate at Nate_Dirt19 is away at work right now. He's fighting those ice storms and evidently some people that can't drive in them that backed into a pole. So you guys know he's a lineman, so he works crazy hours. So he's out there fighting the good fight. Sheps has his family on vacation in Disney this week, so he's enjoying some fun in the sun with the family. Don't forget, you can find us at Toilets to Titles, and then, of course, myself at JustinFF_. But before we get on to the show, I got to get to today's guest. Today's guest has become a friend of mine over the past year, and very, very happy and proud to say that. This guest is Neal Maligno at Clockdodgers. But real quick rundown of why I'm such a big fan of Neal's. Neal keeps it real, and when I say that, like, he's all fantasy football 100% all the time when it's his fantasy football show. But when real world stuff happens, he's not afraid to put himself out there. He's not afraid to podcast that a lot of people are too scared to make or maybe too intimidated to make. He's got an opinion on everything, and he wears it on his sleeve. But I got a lot of respect for this guy, even whenever we don't agree on things. So Neal, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for filling in the gap of two of my guys tonight. I appreciate
Thanks,
you.
man. No, I appreciate you for having me on. It means a lot anytime, somebody invites you to their show, says a couple nice, words about you in the intro, but it really does mean a lot because, you do your own thing and obviously it just is what it is. But when people want you on and want you to kind of share your opinion and stuff, it's nice. So, I mean, I'm not here to fill shoes, obviously, because those guys do a great job, but I'm happy to help out however I can.
Right on, man. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate the extremely rare video appearance by you. This is
man.
Something you're used to, right?
Yeah, this is different, man. I might have to try to, bring this on the Clockdodgers a little bit, but it's a task I always think about, and I'm like, man, it's a lot more work. So I don't know. Maybe we'll start sprinkling it in here and there, but we'll use this as a test drive.
There you go. I've got something new going on for me as well in my background here. I got a nice fall theme on my TV screen with the mantle going, so got a little bit of running water back there. I don't know if anybody can actually see it, but
yeah, we can see it.
Last night I fell asleep to the sound of running water, man. It felt awesome. I got up to pee like 3 times, but it was awesome to have that kind of relaxation in the background. So we already have a comment in Raider Nation in the house by Rich Gonzalez.
That's right, man.
Now, I don't know if he's assuming that I don't know if he knows you or if he's just assuming because of the black and gold hat, but Rich is our resident Raiders fan. And Rich, if you don't already know this, the Clockdodgers here, the Clockdodgers man himself, Neal Maligno, is a Raiders fan. So yeah, you guys could actually get along.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'm as big of a homer as you get. I've been known to trot Raiders all over the show as I can, even when they don't deserve to be. So yeah, I'm a big Raiders fan.
We're also going to test to see if your co-host Josh Crocker actually listens or watches the show also by saying that Nate is missing the show fighting those ice storms that caused Josh to miss a few of your episodes as your co-host on the Clockdodgers. So we'll see if he comments in our group chat about that.
Yeah, I give Josh a hard time about it because I don't believe them. I think they're fake. It's fake news. You know what I mean? It's when people say fake news, that's some real fake news because I don't ever see it on TV. I don't see it, broadcasted nowhere. But he's missing shows left and right, and so apparently, your guy's missing it too. I don't know. This might just be a podcaster's excuse out here.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe Nate heard your show and he's using the same excuse.
could be exactly what's happening.
All right. Hey, before we go on, I want to remind everybody you can catch us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Periscope, along with right here on screen on YouTube. If you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button, give us that like button, and hook us up. Game recognizes game, says Rich. All right.
All right, man. That's right.
All right. Enough of that Raider crap. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Oh, first we're going to do our Fantasy Cares update. As our regular viewers know, Fantasy Cares is it's a charitable organization that was created by Scott Fish and his group of guys, or at least they raise a lot of money for Fantasy Cares. I don't know if he actually created it or not, but it has inspired us. He did actually create it?
Yeah.
All right, cool. See, that's why I brought you on, to have the knowledge. You got the knowledge, and I got the bumbling fidgeting with my fingers here. But it inspired us to come up with a little bit of a charitable thing of our own. For every 50 new followers that we get throughout the season, we're donating $10. Not necessarily to Fantasy Cares. We actually decided that we're going to donate the money to help fight child trafficking in the U.S. It's something that means a lot to us, something that we know is extremely important in this country right now. So right now we're up to $90 between the three of us to donate. And if we get 6 more, we're going to hit another 50 followers, and we will finally hit that $100 milestone that was kind of like a big goal for us. So really appreciate the viewers out there helping out with that. But yeah, so also don't forget about our Gardner Minshew giveaway, the autographed Gardner Minshew card. Guys, listen, I understand with Jake Luton going out there and showing up, and Gardner Minshew, maybe this card has lost some value of late. But Gardner's going to get that starting job back. Don't forget to subscribe to our show on YouTube and send us the DM to show that you're a subscriber. You'll get a couple entries that way. You can also retweet the tweet that we sent out about it and get an entry that way. And we will have that drawing probably in the next few weeks. So injury news. Burn through this injury news real quick. There wasn't a lot of injuries this week compared to most weeks that we've had recently. This has been a rough year for it. For a while there, I thought this was going to be the week of the quarterbacks, man. We had Drew Brees, Matthew Stafford, and Teddy Bridgewater all go down with injuries this week.
It was a rough week in terms of that. But like you said, I mean, it may not be as much to talk about, but it's a positive thing that we, have maybe a little bit of a break in injuries. Nothing too dramatic, nothing too crazy. It's a blessing in this season how it's played out. So we'll take 1 week, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to have a few more weeks like this, but
exactly.
Especially going into the playoffs, man. This has been an awkward season, but Drew Brees has several broken ribs and a partially collapsed lung. The team isn't placing him on the IR just yet because they're hoping that he doesn't miss any more than 2 to 3 weeks. And Jameis Winston is expected to start. My brother-in-law does. He's the supervisor of an X-ray, a group of X-ray technicians. I don't know what his exact title is. He works at a big hospital here in the Indianapolis area. But anyway, he told me that a collapsed lung typically is pretty serious, and he initially expected him to be out for a long time. But I mean, even Drew himself is saying like he's hoping for 2 to 3 weeks. The team's saying 2 to 3 weeks. That's why they're not putting him on IR. I don't know, man. Have you ever had a collapsed lung?
I have not. Thankfully. Don't put that on me, man. don't even put that in the air.
What do you think Jameis does for this offense?
I think Jameis earns himself a new contract next year. I think this is his chance. He knows it's his only chance. So rather than sit behind Drew Brees and learn and continue to learn, like this is his audition that he was hoping for, and here it is. So he's got fair enough weapons. He's got a good coach, good offense. If he's been paying any attention to what Drew Brees is doing, this is his opportunity, to earn a new deal. And I don't see why he won't, play well. But I don't know how long Drew Brees is gonna be out. It sounds kind of ugly, but this is one of those like blessings when it's something terrible, but it hopefully is what gives Jameis Winston more life, more future years here as a starter, hopefully.
And it's the right opponent for him because he's used to playing against the Falcons. The Falcons are horrible, their defense anyway. I mean, it is a good opportunity. And so he could definitely earn a contract. And who knows, maybe he earns that contract with New Orleans with Brees getting as old as he is. Who knows? Matthew Stafford, right thumb on his throwing hand. That's the concerning thing. And I'm going to kind of mention that a little bit later on with one of the studs that I chose. But He did have some x-rays done. They don't think that it's anything extremely serious. From the sounds of the way they're talking earlier today, it sounds like he's probably going to be able to start. But but if not, then Chase Daniel's going to get to go. Teddy Bridgewater, knee injury. The initial MRI indicated that it wasn't nearly as serious as it looked. PJ Walker did come in and finish that game, but he only had I think he was 2 for 4. He didn't get a lot of attempts. It was towards the end of the game. But PJ Walker was like the XFL 1-year Hall of Famer there. So what do you think?
Yeah.
You think he can move that offense enough to not worry so much about your other Panther fantasy players?
Yeah, I mean, if he has to play, I feel like he can be a game manager on this one. I know there's a lot of people who are really excited about PJ Walker. He's like that, that guy that people just want to see play. They're just fans of the player, and that's great. But just don't get too caught up on anything in a fantasy perspective. I mean, if you're in super flex, your back's against the wall, you don't have any other choices, then yeah, I get it. But I wouldn't, put him out there for any other reason than that. Like, he's gonna have to show me that he can do it here at this point. He's fun, it's exciting, and then everyone's rooting for him. But I wouldn't get crazy and put him on my starting lineup unless there was no other option, obviously.
Right on. Yeah, I agree with that completely. George is chiming in. George Reed from Break from the Grind pod and from about 1,000 other sleeper wire shows that he's been getting me roped into lately. So, peace to you, George.
Yeah.
Joshua, obviously Joshua's going to chime in if you're on. He's going to remember this ice storm excuse the next time he doesn't want to do his pod. Well, that can't happen. That's the downside to being on your own by yourself. You can't call it sick, but we got to have that next week tonight from Fusion.
No, you can't tweet that one out, Josh. You don't get that excuse, man.
No, there we go. I like this one. George wants to know if we're raising money to pay Neal's electric bill.
What's wrong with my electric?
I kind of like the black light theme back there.
Is this guy hating on the blue light? Come on, man.
It is just you and me, Neal. It kind of seems a little romantic.
Nah, it's not romantic, but he's hating on the vibes, man. This is the vibes. This guy's got a deer head on the wall behind him probably, and who knows what else. This is 2020, George.
Every time I'm on a show with him, he's got his bathroom door in the background, and he's got his wife and daughter walking in and out through the bathroom, through the bedroom. Yeah. So
I locked the door, so no one could do that.
But hey, I made fun of his lighting one time, so I guess this is fair game.
But you can. But I will take any money that anyone wants to raise for me. Though I will take
it. we got the whole chat group chiming in. I don't even remember telling the chat group that you were coming on, but Barry's chiming in. Yeah, probably. Yep. Look at that. Awesome. All right. Well, so let's move on here. I just wanted to catch up on some of the comments. Danny Amendola with the hip injury. He's not super fantasy relevant anyway. I don't know what's up with those hips in Detroit, but maybe they need to start doing some salsa dancing to warm up. Maybe one of those Dak Prescott warm up moves or something. But did you see that Nick Boyle injury, man?
I did. See, Twitter would not let you see it. That's how it works these days. Even if you try to avoid it, you can't avoid it.
Yeah, it was ugly. And I got some theories on how this could affect Mark Andrews in a little bit, but yeah, he was averaging just under 2 targets per game, so I don't think it affects Andrews a heck of a lot. But it potentially could. Like I said, we'll talk about that here in a little bit, but he is out for the season. Obviously. Tre'Quan Smith with a concussion. He's in the 5-set protocol. Mike Davis has a thumb injury now, but he did return to the game. Looks like he's probably going to be able to play this week. Kind of scary there with CMC still out, though. But
what's scary? What's scary about this? No one can stop Mike Davis. Come on.
No, let me rephrase that then. It's kind of scary if you're a CMC owner and you planned ahead and you've had Mike Davis all season, and now you may not have both of them.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Mike's a savage.
When Davis came out, you got a little scared. You're thinking, "Oh crap, who's the next guy? Like, who am I gonna have to stop? Am I gonna have to go out and pick up JaMychal Hasty, who just got a broken collarbone?" That's the next guy on the list. He's likely done for the year. If he does come back, it's going to be during the actual NFL playoffs. That's So let's continue the 49er running back carousel, right?
Yeah, I mean, but, hey, listen, it's Jerick McKinnon, man. That's all that matters. There's no carousel. He's the main event. It's all about Jerick McKinnon. So if you've been trying to start Hasty and you've been trying to start all these other guys, you're wasting your time. Jerick McKinnon's the guy. You want touchdowns. He's the guy, man. I know people still can't trust this guy. They're still afraid. They still don't want to believe. Some are just pushing him away because they don't want to, embrace it. But it's Jerick McKinnon's show, man.
I feel you've been all about McKinnon. You love McKinnon. I'll give you that. Listen, but I will say they're on bye this week, and then after the bye, week 12, we start that carousel all over again because Raheem Mostert should be back and ready to play.
Listen, speaking of carousels, everyone knows when you go to a carousel as a little kid, there's only like one horse you want to get on. There's a dragon or there's something really cool, right? That's Jerick McKinnon. The rest of these guys, Hasty and all these guys, they're like the bench that no one wants to sit on the carousel. So it don't even matter. McKinnon is the cool dragon on the carousel that you want to get, and it's going to stay that way for me, man.
Plus, we also know Raheem Mostert is going to have those 4 carries and 3 catches and have 160 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then they're going to bench his ass for the second half for some crazy reason, right?
Because you got to get McKinnon out there.
I guess. But maybe it's a good thing that they rotate all their running backs. If they didn't, then they would just always stay hurt.
Yeah, exactly. They already are.
For a week to 3 weeks, depending on how his rehab goes. David Montgomery's supposed to return week 11. So you got that flex starter to look forward to. And I think David Montgomery's going to be a career flex.
So it's feeling like.
It's crazy. The dude has one of the best elusiveness ratings in the league and still only averages like 2 yards per carry. It's insane. Yeah. David Johnson was placed on IR last week. It means he has at least 2 more weeks that he's going to be out. Duke Johnson got 100% of the non-Watson rushes in week 10, so look for that to continue. It doesn't look like they're going to run with anyone else while David Johnson is out. Myles Gaskin was out last week, and we got to see a heavy dose of Salvon Ahmed. 21 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown in week 10. He'll likely be the workhorse for Gaskin. And, dude, he looked good. And then the Dolphins cut Jordan Howard this week after a healthy scratch. So yeah, he might be the real deal.
Yeah, so, I mean, anyone who's listened to Clockdodgers for a while knows I'm bummed out about the Jordan Howard thing. I've always been a Jordan Howard fan because it seems like nobody else was a Jordan Howard fan. So I liked what he did. But, I think him being cut when everybody's not healthy yet, and they still went ahead and cut him. I think, Salvon Ahmed, what he did was enough to prove to this team. I mean, we know the Dolphins at this point, whether they're on a winning streak, whether their quarterback is doing well, they'll bench him for the young guy. Same thing goes for the running back. Same thing goes for anybody. I think he's the hot hand now, Ahmed. And I think even when Gaskins comes back, that is going to be a tough situation for Gaskins because I think they're going to, as the more and more Salvon gets to play, the more and more they're going to like him, and the more and more he's going to take that job. So I'm super in on Savannah and the Dolphins.
So here's something. I want to talk about this. George says that it's pronounced Ahmed.
Yeah,
now, I know that that's how the announcers were announcing it, but I did a Google search and I searched quite a bit to try to find this because I know that it can be like a cultural thing. And mostly what I found were more people saying that it's either Ahmed or Ahmed, but it's definitely not Ahmed.
Really?
So, like, how do we know for sure that it's pronounced Ahmed? Like, unless we heard it from him himself, from what I found on my Google searches, it's like offensive to say Ahmed. And these announcers were saying it over and over and over.
So it's funny that you say that because I'm also known to screw up some names here and there. So I do also do Google searches on names, just to, because when you're doing this, like you don't have to be perfect, but you also don't want to, like you said, disrespect somebody or come across like you don't care enough to do your research. So like I did find interviews people called them Savon Ahmed. So that's what I'm rolling. I'm definitely not calling him Ahmed because it's about as American as you can get. It feels wrong. So it doesn't even seem right. Ahmed, if you're gonna go, a little bit on it, okay, maybe. But I mean, I guess we have to ask somebody who knows more, about him. But I did see interviews where they were actually talking to him, and they said Salvon Ahmed, and he didn't say anything. So I roll with it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think if I'm a undrafted rookie and I'm just trying to make any kind of a name for myself, I'm not going to say, "Oh no, it's pronounced Stevens, not Stephen."
That's true. That's true.
But this is what I'm talking about right here, though. This comment right here, and I know it's funny, but like I think that's part of Jeff Dunham's bit by calling his ventriloquist dummy Ahmed.
This is real. This is a real issue.
Yeah, like it could be offensive, but anyway, we don't want to bring the show down. Rich likes your Raider Nation attitude. He says that is straight Raider Nation attitude. He likes it. So right on.
Hey, it's in our blood, Rich. You know what's up, man.
And Beryl agrees with you that it's always been McKinnon as well.
It has. Always will be.
And we got a lot of interaction today. I'm still not even through the injuries. Let's see. We got I wanted to ask you too. Do you think that Myles Gaskin did enough before his injury to justify a split with this rookie Ahmed?
I mean, for sure. I think he did enough. Where once they're both back and they're both healthy, we're gonna have to be, we're gonna have to be careful with this because I don't think we're gonna feel comfortable going all in on either one of these guys. And I think just for the team's best interest, like I don't know, as fantasy players, we want teams to go all in on one guy, but for the team's best interest and for the team to win games, like you want as many good players in as you can. And so I believe both of these guys are going to share the ball. They should share the ball. And I do think they're both going to have games that are, worthy of starting. We'll just see when they're both healthy if it's something that we can predict, or if it's something that, we're going to see them lean one way or the other. But I think both guys are, talented guys. And like I said, they're not afraid to ride the hot hand. They're not, locked in and committed to one guy per se. So I think this is going to get real interesting when he comes back healthy. And that's where, Ahmed has to really take control while he's out, because otherwise when he comes back, it'll just be an easy switch out.
Right. Yep, I agree. Joe Mixon, Coach Zach Taylor said that the plan, he said this last week, that the plan was to hopefully have Mixon ready to go by week 11 versus Washington. But the Bengals have been very vague about this injury. It's kind of hard to tell what is the truth with this injury. So we just got to kind of keep monitoring the situation. And as soon as Mixon starts practicing, we're going to start starting him again. Austin Eckler, he should return in 2 to 3 more weeks. If you do not own him and you know that you have a playoff spot locked, now's the time to go get Eckler. 2 or 3 weeks out, you're going to have him for the playoff run, and you're going to be glad you have him. Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde, it looks like they're both probably going to be back possibly this week. Alex Smith got the start this past week. I'm sorry, Alex Collins. Alex Smith did get the start as well, but Alex Collins got the start this past week. It looks like the Seahawks are well on their way to the playoffs. There really is no risk in rushing them back. They're supposed to be back, but also it is a Thursday night as well. And we kind of thought that at least one of them were going to come back last week. So they could play this safe. You very well could get ready to start or set your lineups on Thursday night and be without Carson and Hyde again. So just be ready for that. Debo is on bye this week. Expect him back in week 12. Galladay with his hip. Still likely out for a while. He isn't on IR yet, so that's kind of curious to me. I kind of figured with a hip injury, dude would at least be out for the 3 weeks, and they'd have him on IR. But who knows what they're going to do there? But I would expect him out at least another week or two, and probably even longer. Hip injuries are not something that these guys usually bounce back from real quick. And then the last one here, Calvin Ridley is likely to return this week as well. Any updates or injuries that I might have missed that you know of?
No, I don't. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, I will just, doubling back here to Austin Eckler. I'm super excited about this. Anybody who's had him, I feel like, unless your team was in, pure hell and you had to trade him to somebody who, would give you something of value at that point while he was hurt. I don't know if that's the case, but I think in the most cases, everyone held on to Austin Eckler, and I'm excited about it. How could you not be excited? Justin Herbert's there. He's slinging the rock left and right. They've had a bunch of running backs come in, and, one game it's this guy, next game it's this guy. They're trying to make it all work. They got guys coming in out of free agency, 1 week, and they're the best running back on the team. So I mean, he's gonna be a man on fire. He's gonna be Denzel Washington, when he comes out. So I'm super excited about that. And then, like you said, Deebo Samuel. I feel like I went into this season with such high hopes on Deebo Samuel, and just injuries have obviously derailed all that. Same thing with Austin Eckler. So these are two guys that people should be super excited about. I mean, a few of these guys people should be really excited about. But when I hear Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon means nothing to me at that point, man. I don't even hear Joe Mixon when you say Austin Eckler. It's
right.
That's what I'm excited about.
Yep. And then I did miss one because I always fill this out on Mondays. We forgot about the Monday night injury, the big one to Nicky Foles. Dude, he got bent in half. And I know fantasy football wise, it's not a big deal. But if you look at this kind of logic, if you're a guy like me and you wait to draft quarterbacks and then you wait, and then you draft 3 or 4 guys, maybe 5 guys that could potentially be starters later, chances are most of them aren't, and you're really relying on that Nicky Foles to play.
Right.
And now I am in a tight spot in a couple of leagues because I always wait on quarterback, even in Superflex. So yeah, he literally got bent in half. And then
he did.
Now the Trubisky thing, I wonder how severe that shoulder really was, or if it was just hey, we're just going to kind of sit you out, make it look like it's a shoulder so it doesn't make you look bad, whatever. Because it seems like he only got this injury a couple weeks ago while he was benched. So
yeah, I think one thing I'm proud of, and it's not really fantasy related, is that as a Raider fan, I'm kind of happy to see the Bears blow up like this. Because when we traded Khalil Mack to them, all we heard about was how this was a horrible trade for the Raiders and what are they doing? And now look, I mean, the Bears have to be, if we're thinking about the worst teams in football right now, they're struggling as far as their future goes, right? Who's their quarterback? They're not bad enough right now to get the first pick or maybe even the second best quarterback in the draft. Are I don't know, man. This is getting ugly. David Montgomery's not panning out so well. They're really struggling as a whole, as a whole entire team, as an organization. And so, who knows? Maybe you guys got to trade Khalil Mack now for a quarterback. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how this is going to play out, but it's sure not looking good in Chicago right now. And I'm kind of enjoying it. I'm not going to lie.
Right on. I'll let you have that victory lap.
Feels good.
And for those of you that don't know, that's an ode to the Clockdodgers podcast. They do a victory lap
every week, man. Every week.
I'm gonna let you go first on the game of the week because you have an interesting one here that I know you're gonna want to talk about.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry to make this episode so Raiders heavy, but this is kind of what I do,
Yeah, that's all right. We don't get to talk about them often enough, and I know that my boy Rich watching right now is enjoying this.
Yeah. So Rich knows what's up then. The Raiders are playing the Chiefs this week in Las Vegas. They beat them earlier in the season, which is the Chiefs' only loss this season. And Andy Reid's already in the in the news talking about the Raiders were taking victory laps and around their stadium, around their city, and all this kind of stuff. This is a big game. From a fantasy perspective, it's a big game. But from a football perspective, from every angle you look at this is a fun, exciting game. It's a Sunday night football game. The question here is, last time they played, Derek Carr went off. He had a great game. And the last few games, or I don't know, last 3, 4, or 5 games, whatever it was, he hasn't been crazy hot. So the question is, when we go into this game, is Derek Carr going to go off again? Or is it going to be Josh Jacobs, Devonta Booker, and these kind of guys, trying to run the ball down their throat? It's hard to imagine that the Raiders will have that opportunity because this is the Chiefs offense we're talking about. And even the Raiders defense has improved a lot since they played the Chiefs. So this is really going to be one of those things of, do you go off of history? Do you go off the first game they played, or do you go off of what's happened lately? There's a lot of different ways to approach this game. I don't think I would go too crazy, high expectations on either side. Obviously, you trust Patrick Mahomes, and you want to trust Josh Jacobs, but I wouldn't get too crazy on who's going to be the guy that like Nelson Aguilar. Is it going to be him for the Raiders that does another 60-yard touchdown? Will it be the rookies that get involved more? Everyone believes this is going to be an explosive game, scoring-wise. So I think it's fine to get everybody involved that you can. I just wouldn't get too crazy to expect the same result as last time. Because if you look at the recent results of both of these teams, they haven't been the same teams that they were since that game. So I just think, be careful with thinking that you're going to get the same game all over again. The Chiefs are pissed off, and the Raiders have been playing way different than they were that week. So it's going to be a fun game, man. Are you excited? I know you said you don't talk about the Raiders a lot here, but you got to be excited about this.
I am excited because anytime that the Raiders are good, their divisional games are fun to watch. They're outstanding. Like a good Raiders team makes the NFL better. Not gonna lie. Some team they're good, and you think, oh, well, okay, whatever. Every once in a while, Tampa Bay gets to be good. It is what it is. It's the NFL. That parity is going to happen. But with the Raiders, it is a little bit different. It is a little bit special. And I'm not even a Raiders fan. So I like it. As a matter of fact, that was going to be my game of the week. And then as I was typing it in, I was like, shit, no, I gotta let Neal have this one.
That would have been dirty if you would have took that from me, Justin. If you
I know, I should have still.
That would have hurt. That would have hurt. I would have been like, what's happening right now?
Now, Nate, the next game of the week that I was going to take was going to be the Packers at the Colts, 425, because I'm a Colts fan. Nate's a Packers fan. But I was going to go ahead and let Nate have it, but instead he couldn't make it on the show. I already put my game of the week on there, so I'll talk about that in a moment. But instead, we'll go ahead and talk about this Packers and Colts game just for a quick second. I love the fact that both of these teams seem to do really well against weaker opponents, and they both seem to struggle a little bit more against the tougher competition. In my mind, I think that both of these teams are kind of overperforming to a certain extent. The Colts more so than the Packers, I'm not going to lie. But I still love the fact that this game is going to be at Indianapolis. It's going to be a game that that personally I'm going to be glued to as a Colts fan. But both of these teams are in the playoffs. Both of them are fighting for their division titles, believe it or not. I think it's a clean battle. But even more importantly, Nate and I have a side bet that actually stems from a side bet that George made in our group chat together. The loser of this game between the Colts and the Packers, if the Colts lose, I have to have a Packers logo as my Twitter avatar for a week. Kind of like that bet that George lost. Do you remember who he bet?
He bet with Josh from the podcast, from Clockdodgers. Yeah.
Okay.
Put a Hillary Clinton picture up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But now if the Colts win, then Nate has to have a Colts logo as his Avi on Twitter for a week. So we got a little side bet, a little friendly wager here to make the game even more interesting for us.
Can you believe that I did a side bet with someone like that before the year started? And even though the Raiders are playing well, I'm still in a bad spot because he's a Steelers fan. This guy's team hasn't lost.
Oh,
I'm like, come on, man. How is this possible? How do I get in a bet with someone whose team hasn't lost? Like, I have no hope. I feel no hope, man. So
that's a season-long bet?
Yeah, it's a season-long bet. Who's going to have the best record at the end of the season? I go with my Raiders all the time. Man, I do this all the time. I put myself in a bad spot because I'm, silver and black in the blood. But I thought Steelers, if everything pans out how I want to believe it will, we can hang with them. And then these guys haven't lost a game. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, this is terrible. So,
and Roethlisberger has 0 knees left and no throwing arm left because they've all been injured. And he's still finding a way to get it done.
Yeah, it's terrible.
He's an animal.
Yeah.
My game of the week, the one that I was more prepared to talk about, are the 6-3 Titans and the 6-3 Ravens at Baltimore. And I know that Baltimore has kind of underperformed to what a lot of people were thinking that they were going to play to, and the Titans maybe have even overperformed just a bit, but I think that this is going to be a battle. I think that both of these defenses are stellar. I think that Titans defense does not get enough credit for what they do, especially when they play a bunch of really good offenses like they have this season, and they're still showing that they can fight. Both of these teams are fighting for a playoff spot. And when I say that, like if they don't win their divisions, which the Ravens really potentially could not win their division because, like you said, the Steelers haven't even lost yet.
Yeah.
And then the Titans are battling with the Colts there. So if they don't win their division, then they're both fighting for that 6 and 7 seed. This could have tiebreaker implications. I mean, this could legitimately be a playoff game that we watch, especially even in the first round if the Titans do win their division and then they play the Ravens, who will be the wild card. Because we got to remember there's 7 teams in each conference that make the playoffs now.
Right.
And these are 2 of them. Like,
yeah.
I think it's a playoff game in the making. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an exciting game. I mean, it would be a shame if either one of those teams didn't make the playoffs, honestly, because they're so fun to watch. So, that's going to be a fun game. All these games are going to be fun, man. These are all excellent games that we've highlighted here. And, of course, we'll have some surprises. But, Yeah, man, these are exciting, man. How do you feel about your Colts? Going back to Colts Packers really quick. How do you feel their chances are in this game? Like, do you feel really confident homer wise, or do you feel like it can get ugly quick? Like, how do you feel?
I'll be honest with you. So the last 3 weeks, Phillip Rivers has impressed me a lot more than I thought he would. Like, I was so down on Phillip Rivers, and
I remember you were. Yep.
Yeah, you know this, and I lost a fake fight on the Fusion podcast whenever I said there's no way the Colts would sign him, and then they went out and signed him. So, but the last few weeks, they've really done a great job of telling Phillip Rivers not to throw the ball farther than 10 yards down the field. And I feel like they had to have told him that, because before the last few weeks, he was like Brett Favre. He was just throwing it down there. Or Jameis Winston, just three interceptions in one game. Like, just doing what Rivers did all last season. But now they're throwing bubble screens. They're throwing to Nyheim Hines. They're throwing little short passes, and it's really moving that offense, because this Colts team is set up to be run heavy with a really great rushing offensive line and a really, really great defense right now.
Yeah.
When you have that, you don't need a gunslinger. You just need a game manager. And they signed the gunslinger, but they've converted him into a game manager. So I kind of actually do like our chances. I don't know about necessarily this week, just because the Packers are just an incredible team, but most of their incredibility is on offense. So with our defense, it is possible that we could slow down Rodgers if we can keep him off the field and keep the clock on our side. Then who knows? We might actually have a shot. Want to throw this up real quick again, because Rich asked where he can follow you at again. So I just want to throw that out there in case Rich needs to cut out. But
if you follow me, Rich, I'll follow you back, man. I'll get after the show.
Right on. Let's see.
Gotta take a drink of this, but I gotta cover the labels because we don't do free sponsors, right? So
that's right. Not a sponsor yet.
Call us. You know who you are. Call us.
Yeah, and Beryl actually helping us out too there. Appreciate you, Beryl.
By the way, those fake fights that you're talking about with Josh, you're supposed to leave him with fake black eyes, fake bruised ribs. Don't ever come out of those losing, man.
No, I didn't think I lost until like 3 days later when they signed him. I was walking around funny for a week after that.
I always get upset when you talk about the Colts and the running backs, man. You know, I'm a big Marlon Mack fan. And when he went down week 1, I was heartbroken, man. It hit me in the feels, man.
Yeah, you're not the only one. I actually got to meet Marlon Mack once, and so yeah, I've got a soft spot for him myself.
Let me ask you this: with the injury that he had, and I don't know if you feel Jonathan Taylor has struggled at all. I don't know if you'll say that as a Colts fan, if you feel that way, or if you feel like this is how it's supposed to happen. But do you think there's any chance Marlon Mack returns to the Colts?
That's
Even
tough.
if it's a 1-year deal, anything like.
I don't think so. I really don't.
Okay.
And mostly, and it doesn't have as much to do with Jonathan Taylor anymore. At first, that was the deal for me. It's like, we got Jonathan Taylor, dude's going to ball, especially in the season. But I think it has more to do with how good Jordan Wilkins and Nyheim Hines are playing, and you can keep them for a hell of a lot cheaper than what it's going to cost to sign Marlon Mack. But then again, maybe it won't cost a heck of a lot for Marlon Mack, because he is coming off the injury, so maybe that price tag isn't going to be as steep.
Yeah.
A lot of teams aren't willing to pay good running back. So, and I think league wide, most teams don't really consider Marlon Mack to be a good running back either. You know what I mean? Like you see it obviously because you've been tooting his horn for 2 seasons now. I see it because I've seen it.
Right.
So, but yeah, this Jonathan Taylor thing is driving me crazy, because I thought all along that the Colts were kind of saving him because the rookie, only used to play in 9 or 10 games, save his legs halfway through the season. Let's show what he's got. But Nyheim Hines has been taking advantage of that opportunity. And then Wilkins, when they throw him in, is just playing outstanding football. I don't know that they go back to Taylor, and it is starting to kind of work.
Crazy. See, when I was knocking it, like when I was saying Marlon Mack is not giving up that backfield to Jonathan Taylor, I wasn't doing it to knock Jonathan Taylor. And I know a lot of people took it that way, and so they got really offensive because Jonathan Taylor has like fans. Like you would think he was, one of the Backstreet Boys or something. This guy, the way people were coming at me with it, but it's like I mean, yeah, he's a good player. He's supposed to be good, and we'll see how it plays out. But these veterans are, there for a reason, man, and they've been on the team for a while. They know the system. The team is comfortable with them. The coach has never been a one-back kind of running back, guy as a coach. So it's like, they're going to have other guys there always, in my opinion, no matter how good Jonathan Taylor ends up being or not being. And so, yeah, it kind of like whenever you drop their running back that high and you have such high hopes and it doesn't actually play out that way, it probably bums you out a little bit. But I think, Jonathan Taylor has plenty of time to still take that, role and run with it. But I think that you'll never see Hines go away or someone of that caliber with him. You know what I mean?
Right. He's got a tool in his belt for every situation.
Yeah.
Well, Barrel offered this up, Marlon Mack to the Falcons. And then Rich's comment, I don't know if Rich's comment was directly to Barrel here or if it was to you asking if Marlon Mack was coming back to the Colts. But in true Raider fan, answering the question the way that a true Raider fan would, he just simply put no.
Hey, that's fair. That's a fair answer. No, that works.
I don't know what he was answering, but he's saying no. It's not happening.
Exactly. I'll take it.
All right. We're going to move on to the dudes and duds. Unfortunately, guys, we don't have a betting segment tonight since Nate wasn't able to join us. He's our betting guy. I don't do a lot of the line bets and stuff like that like I did last year. I just haven't been able to get into it this year. And if I try to talk line bets with you guys, I'm going to lose you a heck of a lot of money. And I don't want to do that to you, man, because then I'd have to blame Neal for –
No.
So I can't do that.
Then Ice will have to knock out my podcast, and I don't want to have to hide.
Are you still doing that tonight?
No. We pushed the episode to tomorrow. We'll record tomorrow, so it'll probably
be. I hope you're not just pushing it back for me, man. But if you are, I do appreciate the sacrifice.
I am, Justin. I am.
Are you serious?
Serious, just for you, man. Just for you.
Oh man, I appreciate that.
No problem.
Well, I mean, if you are, this might be an episode that Crocker actually watches. Then
it might be. I doubt it. He'll find something to do.
Yeah, he's got some papers to grade or something.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the dudes and duds then. John, again, John wasn't able to fill in his part here, and so I'm trying to pick up the slack. I didn't have time to fill in any duds, but I do have several dudes here for you. Ben Roethlisberger, we just got done talking about him. I don't care if he doesn't have any knees or arms or whatever. He's going to find a way to make it happen, and they're playing Jacksonville, so he'll thrive with all of his shiny new toys against this really bad Jacksonville defense. So he's definitely a dude this week. Damian Harris, the passing game simply isn't on point with Cam just yet, but the running game is highly effective when Harris is running the ball. It was my Turtlehead a few weeks ago, and he hasn't disappointed. He could potentially have his fourth 100-yard game this season. DeAndre Swift has completely taken over that Lions backfield in my mind. I know AP still gets some touches, but if you're looking for workhorse running backs in the NFL, 2 of the last 3 weeks, DeAndre has fit that bill compared to most other running backs in the league. He touched the ball 21 times last week against Washington for 149 total yards and a touchdown. He has 6 touchdowns on the season. And this week is my bold touchdown prediction. I usually have one every week, or at least I have the last few weeks. I'm going to predict that DeAndre Swift and Damian Harris both get a touchdown on the road this week. What do you think of that?
I don't think it's that crazy. I think it's possible. I hope it's possible. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I would love to see it play out that way. I would love to see consistency out of these two and the team's, consistent workload for them. Because these are 2 guys that, that's kind of been the issue is the consistency. So if you're right and it plays out the way you're saying, it's only good moving forward as long as the team will continue to, to trust it like that. So we'll see. Yeah. For me, with both of these guys, it's more of a team issue than them,
Yeah, and especially with Harris, because I think that's why he's still predominantly unowned in a lot of leagues, is because traditionally Bill Belichick is just going to give it to whatever running back is standing next to him at the time,
Yeah, fantasy players are, aware of, how this plays out usually in New England. And smartly enough, we avoid them, to a certain degree. But when a guy starts, piling them up like this, it's just hard to ignore. And then you wonder if this is when you get burned.
Right. But my level of confidence is coming from the fact that Cam isn't Tom Brady back there. Like, he doesn't know the offense as well, and you've got to rely a little bit more on your run game. Plus, Cam is a running quarterback, which typically helps running backs. And if you can keep that same running back in there and keep that flow going, it usually helps the offense. It helps your quarterback out a little bit. So that's where my confidence is coming with Harris, but I totally get the inconsistencies. Juju at Jacksonville, I'm going to stack him with Big Ben here. A game against a defense like Jacksonville for an offense like the Steelers is the kind of game that a quarterback like Roethlisberger will use to keep his big stars happy and on a hot streak. After a rocky stretch for Juju, his last 2 games have been very effective. 15 catches on 20 targets, 170 yards, and 2 touchdowns over that stretch. So I think this is a game where Roethlisberger is going to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to keep feeding you the rock. We're going to keep this little streak going and try to build this momentum and keep us going into the playoffs.
I'm known to be a Juju. I want to say a hater, but ever since they let Antonio Brown go, I've just been – I don't have extreme confidence in him. I feel like he gets inconsistent. He disappears sometimes. Like you said, he's put a couple back-to-back together, so we'll see if it continues that way. But I just feel like, if we're being honest, I feel like Deontay Johnson is the best wide receiver on that team. It's not even close. And maybe the fact that the team knows that and he's kind of going to get more of the attention, he'll get the AB role and Juju can, succeed more. I just think when we make Juju the focal point and we make Juju the offensive target – to worry about, I think that hurts Juju. I just think it's not good for him. So I think Deontay Johnson getting better, getting more attention, the team knowing he's better, the defense knowing he's better is only helping Juju. And, it may be what Juju needs. I think Juju as the only guy or the best guy, I don't know, man. I'm not extremely confident in it.
Yeah, I agree completely. Yep, definitely. He took a huge hit when AB left. So and even whenever they didn't have Big Ben last year, you would expect your stars to rise. You know what I mean?
Right.
If he had that standalone ability, he should have been able to stand alone. But Michael Thomas, I think it's a lot of the same situation as Juju, only he hasn't already had a couple of good games here recently. They're playing against Atlanta, and we all know that Winston is the kind of quarterback that is always going to find a way to chuck that ball deep down the field. And Thomas is the type of wide receiver that's always going to go up and get it. I think it's a good combination. I really like the matchup here because, like we said earlier, Winston is used to this Atlanta defense. He knows them. He's played in that division for a few years, and it's going to be a lot like Winston to Evans in my mind. So I like this matchup for this week, even with the backup quarterback. We mentioned earlier about Mark Andrews, and the reason I was a little vague on it is because I have Mark Andrews as a dude this week. The reason is because when Boyle went down, he looked like a man inspired on the next couple of drives. Like, I'd never seen him play with this kind of fire. And I don't know if it's because it wasn't a dirty hit on Boyle. It was just one of those football plays that just happened. So I don't know if it's like he just felt bad because his boy got hurt or what the issue was, but he looked like he was pissed and ready to move the ball. And he did really well the next couple of drives. So I'm kind of wondering, like I said, Boyle had just under 2 attempts thrown his way per game. So it's not like he's going to get a huge workload from that. I also kind of worry that maybe with Boyle being the primarily a blocking tight end, maybe they have to utilize Andrews to block more. But at the same time, they also still need him out there running routes. So maybe this makes him more effective and more efficient as a tight end, kind of like more of what we saw last season, where maybe he's not running as many routes, but when he is running routes, they're more effective. I don't know. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, I don't think from a target perspective or from a workload perspective that, this is going to, drastically affect Mark Andrews. Like you said, he may be more inspired because he lost one of his soldiers on, that plays aside of him. He, lost a guy in the position group, and it may just make him feel like the pressure's on him more, to succeed, to be the leader, to be the guy, and maybe he's just going to step up and do better because of that. I think this whole offense as a whole, the passing offense as a whole, just needs to step up, and hopefully, I don't know if Boyle going down will inspire it in any kind of way, but I don't think this necessarily hurts or helps Mark Andrews in any dramatic way. I think we know what he is and that he's really good at football. And like I said, if anything, this may inspire him just to do it for his boy or whatever. But I don't think I'm not gonna lean on it too heavily either direction, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, but either way, I still kind of like the matchup with Tennessee just because
Sure.
Tennessee's defense is pretty tough across the board, but they're going to have to find a way to move the ball. And Baltimore will find a way to move the ball. I mean, their offense is still really good, even though they've kind of underperformed this year. They're going to find ways to move the ball most drives. So I still kind of like the matchup well enough for for Jackson to be able to find his guy to when he needs that play made. So I still like him as a dude for this week. And then who knows?
Sure.
We'll have to pay attention, like I said, to his amount of routes ran compared to the previous weeks, and of those routes, how effective and efficient he was. So it'll be something to monitor the next couple of weeks. I only gave you guys one quarterback because I'm not like John. I can't find two deeper quarterbacks that could potentially play really well or really good guys that you want to talk up. So I decided to give you two tight ends instead. You all know I love tight ends. I don't know why. I can't quit them. But even though the tight ends really suck this year, I've still been all about researching my tight ends. But
no Trey Burton on here, man.
No. But a couple weeks ago, I predicted for that week, and I was wrong. But now I'm just laying this prediction out for the whole season. Since Trey Burton has 2 rushing touchdowns, which is more than some of the running backs that are on some of my rosters right now, I think that they're trying to set it up for another Philly special, only not throwing it to Phillip Rivers because why would you do that? But they're trying to set it up so that Trey Burton can throw a touchdown pass as well. So I've already said that on the show. I'm going to leave that at some point this season. He's going to do that. But no, I like Hawk. If Stafford is available to play, then he may struggle with that to get that deep ball right where he wants it because the injury was on his throwing hand, his throwing thumb, if I understand it right. And Hawk has developed into one of the top tight ends in the league, at least for fantasy purposes this season. And Stafford may have to rely on that short pass. But if Stafford doesn't play, then we also still kind of know the backup quarterbacks tend to enjoy targeting their tight ends. So I think either way, this really bodes well for Hawk this week. I'm going to move right into the duds. We don't have any duds this week, so just throwing it out there. If anybody that's watching has any duds that they want to throw out there, we'll discuss it. Or
I had 2 that I think are interesting.
Right on.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I know I'm a Raiders fan, and you guys think I'm just being a homer, but he didn't have a fantastic game against the Raiders last time they played. So again, if you're the guy who goes back and looks at the previous game earlier in the season and think it matters, that's something to look at. He hasn't been off the charts even last week. So he may struggle against the Raiders team that has gotten better at on the defensive side of the ball. I also think Todd Gurley can struggle this week against the Saints. I don't think that's crazy to think. Listen, if Jameis Winston has the kind of game I would love to see him have, and he goes crazy haywire, throwing touchdowns, what is Todd really going to do for them to for the Falcons to come back? They're going to have to pass back. They're going to have to pass the ball and keep doing the same thing Jameis Winston's doing to keep up. So I think Todd Gurley can be somewhat of a trap this week, and I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire can. And I don't say that to say they're going to bust out completely, but I just think that those are 2 guys I would temper my expectations on. Obviously, in most places, you can't bench these guys unless you have something much better in spot for it. But those are 2 guys that concern me, from the running back position.
Yeah, on the Gurley note, the Saints are one of the toughest defenses against the run. Yeah. So I totally see that. The one thing I will say about Gurley is we've seen the last 2 seasons that we've relegated him to RB2 status, permanently RB2, and literally every single week RB2. When the dude has 20 rushing yards the whole game, somehow in the fourth quarter he gets a 10-yard touchdown run. Or if he has 80 yards in the first half, he's not doing anything in the second half. He's always getting that 8 to 10 points. So I guess my counter argument is I totally agree with that. I totally believe that he is probably going to be a dud this week. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets that 10 points against the Saints, because it's going to happen.
yeah, probably will.
And I like Joshua's point here. He says that the constellation of tight end work is that when one guy goes down, the other remaining tight ends always benefit. So I guess my question here, if you could type in a response to this, Josh, is again, Boyle wasn't getting a lot of action on the passing game. He was mostly always in there to block. And I know you're not a believer in avoided targets necessarily, but he wasn't getting any targets to begin with. So I don't know if what I had said about maybe Mark Andrews being out there more to be a blocking tight end as well will help him benefit in catching the ball more because he's just naturally on the field more, or what. But or if you're just saying in general, that's what happens. But George says DJ Moore and CEH for duds, I'm assuming. So makes sense. And Rich chimes in with Fulgham as they work Rager. So okay, I guess I could see that. Yeah, not bad. Sweet.
I think too, as far as wide receivers go, there's two things to look at. That there's going to be some dud somewhere in this, and that's the Tampa Bay Bucks. Not only are they trying to spread this ball out, which we know is difficult, but they're also playing the Rams, whose pass defense is pretty good. And then you got Joe Burrow and the Bengals, who have, again, a few wide receivers who are pretty good at football. And they're playing the team in Washington that doesn't have a name. And they're pretty good at defense in the secondary. So those are guys who, have a trio of wide receivers and a trio that people like, and they're playing tough defenses. So is that even more of a limit, more of a hindrance besides the fact that there's already two wide receivers that are really good there that people like? It's just something to keep in mind, since we don't have any other players on the board here for duds.
Right on. Man, here's Joshua's response. It's work, snaps, opportunity, etc. Think of Sample, Schultz, etc. So yeah, I feel even more confident about having Mark Andrews as my dude this week. But then again, realistically, if you have Mark Andrews, you're starting him. So I'm not giving you guys any news anyway. Let's see. But that's what I'm here for, is to state the obvious. Let's see. Now it's time for my segment, Living the Stream, or Living the Stream Life. That's what I'm calling it, because I don't want to say Living the Stream because it just comes natural to me because I listen to a lot of JJ Zacharyson. So now I got to give JJ the props there because I just accidentally said his name and I don't want to be that guy. So the streamers. Last week, my best were Drew Lock and Jared Goff, who ended up being low-end QB2s. Wait a minute. I might have gotten these mixed up. Yeah, those are worse. So you don't want low-end QB2s as your QB. So I'll read the worst first. And then Richie James, 3 catches for 26 yards. I was chasing points, guys. I'm not going to lie. Wide receivers were tough to stream last week, so I was just trying to chase points, and it was a bad mistake. Dallas Goedert, I really figured that he was going to come off and come unglued and have a good game. I was wrong. He got hurt early, but he only missed a few plays, but he's playing like a shell of himself. I don't know what's going on, but he had 4 catches for 33 yards. And with Ertz coming back soon, I think I'm ready to jump off of that bandwagon again. But I'll jump right back on it if he gets 2 touchdowns this week. So let's see. My best, I guess that means I had down Tua as a low-end QB1 and a high-end QB2, depending on your scoring format. I also had J.D. McKissick. He had 7 catches for 43 yards, so that's really nice in PPR formats. But he also had that rushing touchdown. I think the dude had like 67 rushing attempts for 2 yards and a touchdown or something like that.
Dude, he's starting to frustrate me as an Antonio Gibson fan. Man.
Yeah, what's crazy? Up with that?
Like Gibson's eating. Gibson's doing good too, but it's just like I thought, he'd get more passing, game success, not necessarily, the running game success. And it's like these guys are just killing me, man.
He was a receiver in college.
Yeah, everyone said this guy can't run the ball. How do we know he can run the ball? This is craziness. Everyone's drafting him so high or whatever, and this motherfucker running the ball. So,
right.
It's crazy.
It just shows, man. You think and we don't know shit.
Exactly. Hey, listen. If we would listen to Adrian Peterson, I mentioned it when he got traded to the Lions. He said that system is perfect for Antonio Gibson. He didn't say it for nothing, man. Like he didn't name drop this rookie for no reason at all.
Right. Yep. I also had the Packers defense, who finished around 9th to 13th, depending on the scoring format. So if you're streaming a defense, you'll take that. So this week's streamers, Jameis Winston. We've been talking about him, but Breeze is out. Winston gets to face the Falcons. I'm not going to go over all that again because we've already mentioned it like 3 times, but I really like his matchups. In this segment, I did put a note here that the Falcons secondary are about as capable as the cardboard cutouts in the stands. So I did want to throw that out there. Tua is still unknown in over 50% of leagues. And this Denver matchup seems like a good opportunity in my mind for Tua to finally be able to showcase his running ability as well. I know he tried last week. He had like 6 or 7 attempts, and he had -1 rushing yards. But the week before that, he had like 38 rushing yards, I think, or something like that. So I think this week against Denver, just the way the matchup shapes up, I like his opportunity to potentially get a good running game in there as well. Kalen Ballage, I mean, why the hell not? It's been 2 straight weeks now, 40 touches over the last 2 weeks. They're facing the Jets, so this is the matchup to let your other backfield stars get healthy in that backfield. Let Ballage go out there and do his thing for one more week at least. So I like that matchup. I like Damian Harris, which I had him down as a stud, but he's also wildly unowned in a lot of leagues still, so I can use him as a stream as well. Harris has 3 100-yard rushing games this season, and he's looked amazing in the last 3 weeks. So they play Houston this week, and they're the 2nd worst team in the league against running backs. Then, of course, we've already talked about Salvon Ahmed. Myles Gaskin is out at least 2 more weeks and likely longer. So in his absence, Ahmed has shown that he's perfectly capable to own the backfield. And then the Broncos, like I said, they're middle of the road against running backs this season, but the workload is appetizing for a streaming running back. You can't do much better because running backs are hard to stream.
Also, before you go any further, I kept doing further research on Salvon. Palm Beach Post, down where I'm at here in South Florida, their article that they posted has this quick little write-up on him, and it says, and it's uncertain how quickly Matt Breida will return from hamstring injury, and then it says Ahmad, pronounced Salvon Ahmed, Ockmed. This is Palm Beach Post, so I'm hoping these guys know what they did. I'm sure they did their research. So it's Salvon, not even Salvon or anything like that. Now, the L is basically, silent at this point. So Salvon Ahmed.
Okay.
They put out the pronunciation on their site.
All right. Right on. Well, I'm gonna believe it. I've got you, and I've got George, and I got some
Palm Beach Post.
Some Palms Post newspaper I've never heard of.
God.
That I'm gonna trust. I'm gonna trust you guys. So I'm gonna start calling him Ahmed then. All right. The only person that I would not want to offend is the player himself. So if he ever corrects us, I'll pronounce it otherwise. But George says he's streaming Jakeem Grant. I like that. I'm in a league with John and Nate and my uncle and a buddy of mine, and it's a best ball league, but we only use the stickers that were left over from my live draft. So I called it the worst ball league. So I got Jakeem Grant as one of my top wide receivers in that league. So, yeah, I'm hoping you're right there, George. Let's see. I do have some tight ends and defense and wide receivers here. Jacoby Myers. I'm actually gonna go through these a little bit quicker because we're already past our hour that we like to be at. But Jacoby Myers, actually, you know what? I can't blow through this one because I did a lot of work on this one, so I'm going to share it. One of the biggest things that we look for when we're streaming wide receivers are targets, right? So over the last 4 weeks since coming back from his injury, Myers has been targeted 37 times. Now, by contrast, Tyreek Hill has also been targeted 37 times in his last 4 games. D-Hop 35 times, DK Metcalf 33 times, Adam Thielen, one of the top wide receivers in the league, 21 times, but he's also getting those touchdowns. Myers has taken on a role that many of us thought was going to be N'Keal Harry's going into the season, and now he faces Houston. this week, and that really helps my case for Myers being a streamable option. Josh Reynolds is also getting a ton of targets, and his stats for fantasy purposes have been very similar to Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods over the last 4 games. I really think that Reynolds is becoming more of a spot in that offense, filling in that role that Brandon Cooks left behind. So he's just becoming a lot more active. So I think it's time to pick him up since they're facing a nice opponent this week. Tight ends, Tyler Higbee. Tampa is friendly to opposing tight ends. I like this matchup since the Bucs could keep the points going, and this could be a high-flying, high-scoring affair. So why not go ahead and try to get Tyler Higbee? Like I said, the tight ends are so bad this year that I had to reach a little for Tyler Higbee. But if you think that's a reach, try this next one. Taysom Hill. Look into your format for your leagues, and if they allow Taysom Hill to play in the tight end position and you need to stream a tight end, don't be afraid to start Taysom Hill in your tight end position. I'm going to call in this cheat code myself in a couple of leagues because at the very least, maybe you can flex him. Maybe you can't start him as a tight end. That's fine. If you're desperate for a tricky, sneaky fill-in streamer, I'm going to go with Taysom Hill, and with Drew Brees out, they're going to throw a lot of gadget plays his way. He's going to run that weird wildcat offensive formation, whatever it is they do. He should get plenty of opportunity to at least touch the ball a lot more than most streaming tight ends are going to touch the ball. What do you think of that?
I can see it. I mean, they clearly love him. You know what I mean? They clearly like to get him involved. So with Breeze out, I feel like, yeah, we all want to see Jameis Winston, and they signed him for a reason, but they're going to give Taysom Hill all kinds of work. So although it does frustrate me sometimes. I mean, I like the guy, but I'm not all into the gadget stuff with quarterbacks. It's kind of weird, and they just go to that too much for me sometimes. But it works for them. It's a part of their offense, so I see no reason why they would stray away from it at all with Breeze out.
Right. Yeah, I don't like how they break the flow. Like,
yeah,
if you need something to switch the momentum up, then sure, yeah. But if your offense scored three drives in a row and things are flowing wonderfully, you don't just throw Taysom Hill out there and tell him to run 4 yards to the outside.
Yeah, it's weird.
It is odd, but I've got the Dolphins and the Browns defenses out here as your streaming defenses this week. Some other streamers to consider: Cousins, Hines, Burkhead, Jalen Reagor, the Washington defense, and the Carolina defense, but only the Carolina defense if Stafford is out. So if Stafford's out, then I like Carolina's defense as well. You got anything to add to the streamers?
I don't. I just like that you don't have any Raiders on here because they're locks for you, not streams. I appreciate that.
Well, they're either locks or they're actually two owned. If you think about streamers, I only pick streamers if they're unowned in a lot of leagues.
That's true.
And if they have a really good matchup, which, I mean, they did play really well against Kansas City last time. But I mean, Kansas City's defense can step it up sometimes too. So
yeah, they can.
So I don't know. I don't know about that. But maybe I'm just scared. Maybe I just wanted to leave all the Raiders talk for you.
No, I'm just going to, keep plugging them.
All right. So we're going to do a segment that's new to this show, and we're going to make it quick. So I'm going to let you actually, Neal, run this segment because this is a segment that is stolen directly from your show, and you gave me permission. So I don't have copyright issues here. You're not going to sue me or anything. But we are running out of time. So if you could just maybe pick like 2 of those things that I put on there to discuss, and you go ahead and take it away.
All right, yeah. So what we do on Clockdodgers Podcast, it's like I think it's the oldest running segment on the show. We've been doing it since the first episode, I believe. And so it's one of my favorite segments. A lot of people love playing along at home. It's called Foul or No Foul. I will basically throw statements at you. They can be football related or they cannot be. If you agree with the statement, and again, people playing in the chat, people listening at home, play along with this. If you agree with the statement, then there's no foul. If you disagree with it, you think it's wrong, then it's a foul. So the first one we'll go with is Steelers and Packers both hold on to their current number 1 seed for the playoffs. Foul or no foul, Justin?
So this question I threw it out there as like season long. I don't mean like after this week, because after this week, I do think obviously the Steelers and probably the Packers both still hold on to their number 1 seed. But season long, I kind of feel like the Packers have a real shot at it because they're playing on all cylinders right now. It's a well-oiled machine. They have the Lions and the Bears both in their division, so they're going to get a couple more easy wins there. I believe they're through both of their Vikings games, so that was the only other tougher opponent in that division. So they've got a nice schedule coming up, and I do still think that they're going to pull off the victory over the Colts this week, unfortunately, as much as I'm going to be pulling for my Colts. So I got to believe that the Packers are going to stay there. The Steelers, I would say that somebody's going to catch them, but they're still undefeated. They got to lose a few games for teams to really catch up to them, and they've got the tiebreakers on some teams too that could be battling with them. And so I got to believe that this is no foul. I think they're both going to keep their number 1 seed.
Yeah, I think it's no foul too. I think the Steelers are easier for me to even agree with on this one, but and I look at it as nothing changed dramatically for these two teams or their opponents. They're, like you said, Steelers are undefeated. Packers are doing really well. They're on fire. It's easier to take the field on this one and just say foul because that just gives you a bigger grouping to go with. But definitely no foul for me as well. So we both agree on that one. The next one I'm going to throw at you. Let's see. You only want to go 2 of them. All right.
Hey, hold on. Look at that. Hold on. Look at this. What do you got to say about that?
This guy.
What do you have to say about that?
First of all, this guy's lying because his show didn't even exist during that time period. And this is George just being George. That's all this is. That's a major foul, sir.
You know what? I know George. The viewers know George. He's been on the show a couple times. So I think that they could probably be on your side and say that this is just George being George.
This is very Georgish. This is a very Georgish move.
You know what? I've always wanted to play this game with you, so screw it. Let's go ahead and go through them. What's next?
Cool. Next one is rinsing the dishes. So we can look at this as right after you eat, do you rinse the dishes before you put them into the washer? So rinsing the dishes is a must. I'm going to say that. Rinsing the dishes is a must. Foul or no foul?
Okay, so should I tell you what is the right answer, or should I tell you what I should say since my wife is in the room right now as we speak?
Hey, this is your choice, man. Some of us block our wives from participating in this kind of stuff, so we're safe. But you have to sleep next to her tonight, so it's up to you.
So here's my thing. I'll throw away anything that's left on the plate, which, let's face it, I'm a fat guy. There usually isn't much left anyway. But the trash can's there on the way. Maybe I dump the bones, whatever. Then I take it over to the sink. Legitimately, if the sink is cleared and empty and there's nothing else in there, then I'll rinse it off and leave it in the sink before I deal with, because I've got a teenage son, so he's my dishwasher, so he handles all the dishes. So honestly, I don't take care of him enough as I should and wash or re-rinse the dishes like I should. If I'm doing the dishes myself in the dishwasher, I've got to rinse them off first because it's going to piss me off when that thing gets clogged up, and I got to go dig in there and unclog it. So I guess a must. Oh man, I gotta say it's a foul just because I don't do it enough myself. Like I gotta preach, what I'm saying. So I'm gonna say it's a foul. It's not a must, but unless you want to buy a new dishwasher, you probably should.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying honest on that. I mean, it's definitely a no foul for me. Most cases for me, and I don't know if this is typical or not typical, but if I use a dish and it's just me, I usually just wash it by hand and put it to dry. I don't even leave it in the sink because I don't know, it's just something I do. But if it's like my kids' stuff or anybody else's stuff, I will wash it all out and leave it in the sink. I won't put it straight into the dishwasher for stuff to pile up. But yeah, I always got to rinse it off, man, because sometimes things will come out of the dishwasher all nasty if you don't do it. It starts to smell weird with stuff left in it. So I feel like it's a no foul. I feel like it's a no foul for me, easy one. But
easy, okay.
I understand where you're coming from, man.
Okay, George, this psycho, I guess. This psycho over here.
Oh, man. It happens. There are people like this. All right, the next foul or no foul. Pulling through an empty parking spot to take the empty spot just ahead so you're facing forward to pull out. Foul or no foul on that move, Justin?
No foul when I do it. Total foul when somebody else does it.
So the tables turn for you.
I do it all the time, and I had my wife help me come up with these questions, and I think that might be why she came up with that one. But like even today, I pull up to a parking spot, and there's a car ahead of me and just to the right, and I see that the girl is in there in her car. She's about to get out, so I stay back and to the left and just wait for her to get out. And then she walks away, and as soon as she walks away, I pulled right up so that whenever I'm ready to leave, I can just pull straight out. I don't have to worry about backing up. I'm going to say no foul because it's safer to pull out forward than it is to back out, and I don't want to hit somebody.
Okay.
But I also understand the other argument, which I got a feeling you might have that other argument.
No, okay. So I'm going to say no foul because I do believe every open spot is fair game, no matter how you strategically need to get there. But I do feel like there are some caveats here. Unless someone is sitting there waiting with the blinker on, you can't pull a little slick move and just pull right behind somebody. Or if you see even if I see someone coming down the aisle, because I'll look all around. If I see them coming down that aisle, I'm not going to try to be slick and like jump in the spot. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do it. I don't need that karma with me all day. I don't want to feel like something bad's going to happen to me. It's because I took that damn spot. I shouldn't have did it. So I'm going to be respectful out there. And not just steal the spot. But if there's no cars around, it's just free game, I'm just going to go for it. So, it does depend on the situation, but I think just from generally speaking, I want to say no foul. As long as it's not dirty.
No, I agree. I'm going to have respect if somebody's got their blinkers on, obviously, but yeah.
If you did it when they had their blinker on, you're straight savage, and I'm assuming you're carrying a gun.
No, but there has been times where I've made that move and you can't see the cars coming from the other side because they're on the other side of the parking lot, and you pull up there just as they're trying to pull in and you didn't see them. Now that makes me feel like shit, especially when I can't kick it in reverse because somebody's following me right in there, But you can only feel so bad. I'm not about to pull out and go find another spot.
I hear you saying it, and I'm seeing Rich saying it, and I respect you guys for trying to use the safety first, no backing up thing as an excuse for this move. I'm glad you guys are finding excuses for it. At least you're trying. At least you're trying to make it legitimized. I respect that. The last one we have here for foul or no foul is toilet paper rolls from the top. Foul or no foul, and it must hang over the top there, Justin.
It's got to roll over from the top. It has to.
Has to.
Okay. Foul.
Tell us why.
Well, because it's just natural. Like it's if you unroll it from the underneath side, then it just doesn't feel right. Like it doesn't feel natural, right? Like if it's folded over from the top, then that's already the motion that the toilet paper roll is trying to go in, because like you can see gravity pulling the next sheet down and ready to go, Plus, if you look up the invention of the toilet paper roll on, like if you Google it, you look up the invention of the toilet paper roll, it shows a picture, a diagram that was drawn, and it's rolled from the top, right? Mm-hmm. So here's the only caveat to that. If you own a cat, and cats love to play with the toilet paper rolls, and they'll play with it, they'll unroll the whole thing. If you roll it underneath the other way, then they're not able to get a hold of it and unroll the whole thing. But if you own a cat, then you are psychotic, and you don't deserve toilet paper anyway, okay? So it's got to roll over the top. Either way, it goes back to it has to roll over the top. You got to get to your cat.
You started off really scientific here, got down to fundamentals, and then you got really crazy with the cat stuff. I don't think it's scientific, but I do think, some people are questionable that own cats. I will say this. I say no foul on this one just because I want people to take dumps comfortably. I think you're only concerned about this when someone's in your bathroom, right? So I don't want you stressed out, worrying about which way the toilet paper roll you're pulling it from, which way you're leaving it. I don't want you to get worried about your technique when you're in my bathroom. I don't want you to start getting crazy. I don't want you thinking too much. I don't want you, you start thinking too much in the bathroom, you might do some weird stuff in my bathroom. So just go in there, do your thing, get out. Don't be weird. I would hope that you were raised properly and, you did it the right way. But I don't want you doing too much thinking when you're in there. It's hard enough, taking a dump in somebody's house and have to, walk out of there like, oh, no, I took a shit in here. So, I don't want you having to think about the toilet paper roll, which way you're hanging it down, up and down. So just be comfortable. Don't worry about your technique. But hopefully you were raised right and you do this right. That's all I can say, man.
You know what? I think I was raised right, because if I'm at somebody else's house and I go in there and it is underneath the wrong way, I'm switching it around for them.
You fix it. Okay.
I'm going to do the right thing. And then nobody's ever called me out on that. So I'm thinking that maybe those people just don't know. So this is us providing a public service announcement to everybody
One
out.
time, the most embarrassing thing I've ever done in someone's bathroom, one time I was visiting my family in New York. I don't really know how old I was. I would say potentially a teenager, maybe not, maybe a little younger. But I flooded their bathroom and just dipped. Overflowed toilet, and I ran. Didn't say a word.
Where did
didn't
you run
take responsibility. I don't know. I don't know if I just got in the car and left with the family or what. But I definitely didn't accept blame for it. I didn't even mention. I just walked out and well, next person that goes in is going to find something. I ain't taking responsibility for it. So I don't really want to get too judgy on the toilet paper because I've done some savage things in there,
So George said that he loves my comments about the toilet paper and even my cat takes. And then Rich is saying that I make really good points. You guys have to understand our show is titled Toilets to Titles for a reason. Like, this is where
an expert.
That sacred bathroom right there, my throne, is where I do all of my best work.
You're an expert.
And I'm going to edit out that comment in case you all heard my wife talk about how my throne needs to be remodeled. But and I'm in the process of building a second bathroom right now. I don't know how well you can see that, but I've got the walls built and everything. And I've got my tools in there. So
if you want to take this show all the way to the next level, you would record in the bathroom while sitting on the toilet.
One of these days, I promise you, one of these days.
That's staying true to the brand.
When my new bathroom is done, I promise you that's going to happen. And I'm not going to promise you that I'm going to be wearing pants either.
Man.
So, let's see. So George also says, I will fix the toilet paper for you.
What I'm coming out of this episode with is George wants to pay my electric bill. He wants to fix my toilet paper in the house. George is looking to help me out a lot.
Well, he wants to help you out, but he's also want to take credit for your segment.
That's true. It's very George-like. Again, this is very Georgish.
Plus, you don't want the guests stressing out about
Thank you, Rich.
Exactly. There you go. Yep. That's exactly what he was saying.
Raider fans, we think alike, man. We don't want people stressed out. Feel at home, baby.
And look at that. George is sending you some love, too. He's not always just going to rip on you. He loves you, too. He'll never admit that he loves you. I know he does.
I appreciate it.
All right. So I tell you what, guys. We are at like an hour and 22 minutes. This is way past our normal. But I knew this was going to happen, man. Be honest with you.
Is this my fault, man? Is this my fault?
No, not at all, because I've talked a hell of a lot more this episode than I normally do. But I think it's because, like, you and I haven't had the opportunity to have a one-on-one like this. So, like, we kind of get to know each other a little better as well. And it's so awesome to be able to put a face to the name. So, in honor of Nate being out, I want to throw out his outro that he always does, where he says, "Stay positive and test negative." Love you, Nate. Hope you're staying safe out there. Don't forget to give us an Apple review on Apple Podcasts. You can also check us out on Periscope. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe. But most importantly of all, I want you guys to make sure you go check out Neal Maligno at Clockdodgers. Check out his podcast. It was highly entertaining tonight with us here on the show. It's always highly entertaining on his show. And I wanted to throw in, too, one shot real quick at Adam about how well Corey Davis is doing so far this year. But then Corey Davis threw up that goose egg the other day or whatever, or a couple weeks ago. So I had kind of dialed it back a little bit on your show, but he is still performing. All right. Do you have anything you want to throw out there before we sign off?
Well, no, man. Just again, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I know everyone else called out because I was here. That's okay. I'm still glad to be here, and maybe next time I'll see some other faces too, but I really appreciate it. I'm humbled by the opportunity. And then, if you like anything I said here, or you want to support in any way, like you said, follow Clockdodgers, subscribe to the podcast on any of your podcast platforms. And yeah, man, we appreciate any support. We appreciate the love. And again, man, thank you for having me on. It really means a lot.
Right on. And don't forget, you guys can find this episode in article form on fusionffb.com. Thanks a lot.